Okay, again, thank you. My name is Robert McCausland. I'm the Vice Chair of the Board. Welcome to the 2023 Annual Meeting. Call the meeting to order at this time, the annual meeting business and election. At this time, we would like to begin the business portion of the shareholders meeting, including a roll call and the election of Class A corporate board members. I now ask Doug Bistry and Corporate Secretary David Levy to assist me in conducting the roll call. Doug, was the notice of the meeting duly and properly given?
It was, Bob. The notice has been prepared, delivered, and filed with the records of the corporation.
Thank you. Dave, would you please begin the roll call of the corporate shareholders?
Welcome, everyone. I'm going to read through the roll of our 56 shareholders. It takes a little longer than in the early days when we only had 7. But actually, when we look at the record here, it's probably more like 80 institutions that have been shareholders at one time or another due to takeovers, mergers, and what have you. We solicited proxies from our shareholders, and we have received 27 proxies of the 56 shareholders. For those, I'm going to indicate that the institution is present by proxy. For those that did not supply a proxy, I'm going to call out the name of the institution, and if you're representing them, please let us know that you're here. All shareholders of record of the Class A common shares of the company as of February 16th, 2023 are entitled to vote at this meeting or any adjournment thereof. And I will read the list of shareholders in alphabetical order. This thing going here. American Business Bank. Arizona Community Foundation is present by proxy. Bank of California is present by proxy. Bank of America. Bank of Hope is present by proxy. Bank of the West. Banner Bank is present by proxy. BMO Harris Bank. BOR Financial. Cal Private Bank is present by proxy. Cathay Bank is present by proxy. Citizens Business Bank. We have someone here from Citizens. City National Bank is present by proxy. Comerica Bank. Commerce West Bank. Commercial Bank of California. Commonwealth Business Bank. East West Bank. Enterprise Bank and Trust is present by proxy. Farmers and Merchants Bank of Long Beach is present by proxy. First Bank is present by proxy. First Capital Bank. First Foundation Bank. First General Bank. First Midwest Bank. First Citizens Bank and Trust Company is present by proxy. Glacier Bancorp is present by proxy. Hanmi Bank. Hatch Bank. HSBC is present by proxy. Johnson Financial Group is present by proxy. JP Morgan Chase Bank is present by proxy. Luther Burbank Savings also present by proxy. Manufacturers Bank, present by proxy. Mechanics Bank. Nano Bank. Orange County Community Housing Corporation. Did I hear here? Okay. Pacific Premier Bank is present by proxy. Pacific Western Bank is present by proxy. Partners Bank of California is present by proxy. PNC CDC LLC? Present? Okay. Royal Business Bank. Santa Cruz County Bank is present by proxy. Schwab Bank also present by proxy. Shakopee Metaquacantan Sioux Community. Silicon Valley Bank. State Bank of India is present by proxy. SunWest Bank. The Northern Trust Company is present by proxy. Twain is present by proxy. UMB. Union Bank. U.S. Bancorp. Western Alliance Bank is present by proxy. Wells Fargo Bank. That was a present for Wells. Zions Bank Corporation. As the inspector of those in attendance at this meeting, either in person or by proxy, I'm pleased to report that there are present today 263,217 shares of the Class A common stock, representing approximately 60.8% of the outstanding shares, and I'm certifying that there is a quorum present.
Yeah, thank you, Bob. The first order of business today is the election of directors. The 13 Class A directors of the corporation are elected by the outstanding shares of the corporation's Class A common shares of stock. A slate of candidates has been established and presented to the shareholders for their consideration. However, nominations from the floor are allowable and will be accepted as long as the nominated person fulfills the requirements as a Class A board member, including representing an eligible Class A shareholder and committing to minimum attendance requirements. The 13 nominated Class A board candidates are Alva Diaz, Wells Fargo Bank; Brian Riley, Foothills Bank; Claudia Lima, First Citizens CIT; Chris Walsh, Partners Bank of California; David Levy, Fair Housing Council of Orange County; Gary Dunn, Mary Erickson Community Housing Corp.; Glenn Pacheco, Banking Consultant; Candy Hung, East West Bank; Kelvin James, Manufacturers Bank; Lisa Dansock with the Arizona Community Foundation; Mark Robinson, Pacific Coast Regional Small Business Development Corporation; Sherry Scott, Pacific Premier Bank; and as an honorary designation, no vote is required, Patricia Neal, Neal and Associates, as a board member emeritus. At this time, I will entertain nominations beyond the 13 Class A directors, noting that self-nominations are allowed. Are there any nominations from the floor? Mr. Chair, there are no nominations from the floor. I recommend that the candidates on the proposed slate be accepted for consideration as eligible Class A members.
Since there are no additional nominations, the nominations are closed. And I will accept a motion from the floor to approve the slate of Class A candidates. May I have a second? It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor of the slate of candidates signify by saying aye. Motion passes. Congratulations to all the newly elected directors of the Clearinghouse CDFI. At this time, I would like to adjourn the shareholders meeting and ask Doug, President and CEO of Clearinghouse CDFI, to present his corporate ethics.
All right, thank you so much, Bob. I appreciate it. And I just want to begin by saying how delighted I am that so many of you came out today to be here in person. As I've said before, this is my favorite day of the year because it's a chance for us to share with all of you, our shareholders, our stockholders, our borrowers, our friends and supporters, all of the great work that we're doing. But it's been, 3 years since we all got together in person, if you remember, and that would have been March of 2020. But I'd like to know, just by a show of hands, this was down in Irvine, if you remember, our J.C. Watt, Congressman, was our speaker. How many of you were present at that meeting? Okay, so it's a good number of you, which is great to have you here. A lot has happened since that time. Clearinghouse CDFI celebrated our 25th anniversary, a milestone that is very important to us. And as most of you know, there's been a lot of things happening in the banking industry, particularly in the last few weeks. But we're ready for the challenges. My agenda with you today is to share with you many of the highlights of our last year, 2022. Also to talk about where we are as a corporation right now. And then lastly, where we want to go over the next several years. And I'd like to begin by talking a little bit about the theme of this year's shareholders meeting, which is purpose. And I was so delighted when our marketing team came to me and said this is what they wanted to do, because it's such an important part of who we are. And I'm continually asking our staff and myself, are we fulfilling our purpose? And as you can see, the definition of purpose is the reason for which something exists, something is done or created, or for which something exists, having as one's intention or objective. And when I think about purpose for us, it's not just about making loans or making money. It's much, much more than that. And I'll read to you our mission statement for those of you who haven't looked at it for a while. Our mission is to provide economic opportunities and improve the quality of life for lower income families and communities through innovative and affordable financing that is unavailable in the conventional market. And as a hallmark to that, it's also addressing unmet credit need. Now, I have another definition that I like to share with my staff and I'd like to share with you, and that is the Clearinghouse CDFI definition of purpose. Purpose for us is an abiding intention to achieve a long-term goal that is both personally meaningful and makes a positive mark on the world. And that's what we've been doing for the last 26 years. The entire story of 2022 is our tremendous loan volume. 45 loans totaling $181.9 million was a record for the company in terms of dollar amount, the most we'd ever done in the history of the company. And I have to say, too, we talked about this earlier, but I think a good chunk of that was done in the fourth quarter of the year. It was a crazy year. And I'd like to recognize Christy Ohlendorf. Where's Christy? She usually doesn't even stay in these. She's usually doing something else in these meetings. But her and the production team, all of our underwriters, all of the people, and those are on our loan committee, worked extremely hard this year. A little bit more depth on our loan volume. 65% of those loans were in low-income communities or census tracts. Housing was an important focus for us, as it has always been in the history of our company. We created, rehabilitated, or preserved 1,580 housing units. The majority of those were affordable. Also in 2022, we were selected as one of 3 lenders to help administer the SSBCI Loan Guarantee Program for the state of Arizona. That's an exciting 50% loan guarantee program for small businesses. You're going to hear a lot about Fulcrum later in this meeting that hit its stride in 2022. Our 2022 application for New Markets tax credits was successful with an award of $60 million. And I want to acknowledge Jay and Kathy. Where are Jay and Kathy, who lead our New Markets team? As well as and all the people who work hard to make sure that our application is competitive. Folks, the application is literally like a college dissertation paper. It is unbelievable. The amount of work that people put into it is just phenomenal. We continued our work in Indian country in 2022, continuing to make sure that those who are forgotten, those who cannot typically access traditional credit, are not ignored by Clearinghouse CDFI. And we made a 30% commitment of our future New Markets tax credits to be deployed in Indian country. And I know Jay just shared with me some wonderful stories of his recent trip to the San Carlos Apache tribe in eastern Arizona. And the difference we're making there as a company and you as our shareholders is really, truly phenomenal. We're changing lives. For the 5th consecutive year, we were selected as Best of the World by the B Lab. So as a B corporation, we hold ourselves to high standards, and those standards cover a number of different categories. And I was really pleased that we won in the 2 categories. And first I should explain, there are 5,600 B Corps around the world. And in 2 different categories, we were recognized as the top 5% of the world. And those 2 categories happen to be governance. Thank you. Thank you, Brenda. Appreciate that. Governance and customer service. And if any of you who were recently at our board meeting and you saw how serious and what a fantastic job our board does, as well as all of our advisory board members who you're gonna hear about and they'll be thanked later. It's really tremendous, and I'm always in awe at the wonderful governance of the leader of Chairman Gary Dunn, who made a heroic effort to be here today. Gary, raise your hand, and just want to say thank you to you. Since our inception in 1996, our production and impact numbers have been impressive. 2,600 projects financed for a total of $2.2 billion. 12,000 affordable housing units created, and our impact team does a terrific job of not only counting and tracking our outputs, but also our outcomes. And that's something that makes our company unique. It's something that we're very proud of, and we spend a lot of time and energy and effort following our impact, because impact is our purpose. We have now made loans in 31 different states. So I don't care what the CDFI fund says, we are a national CDFI. It's official. You know, a few years back, we embarked upon our geographic expansion, and for those of you who know our history, California, Arizona, Nevada, and New Mexico are still constitute about 80% of all of our lending. But we've had tremendous growth in several states. I want to mention Oregon, Washington, and New York in particular, and I know that we actually have some folks here from New York who have been helping us, and we'll recognize a little bit later. But we really made a conscious effort to go into Texas, and I'm pleased to report that in Texas, we funded over $25 million, and we have a pipeline of over $40 million in projects in the state of Texas. So really, really super exciting. Now, in the past couple of years, I don't have to tell all of you that we've been navigating some unprecedented economic conditions. And in 2022, we ourselves struggled with some of the things. We had some net interest margin pressure, which was caused by the cost of our funds increasing and us not being able to keep up with increasing the rate to our borrowers. And, and that was very difficult. But financially, we had an extremely solid year in 2022. I might note that it is our 23rd consecutive year of profitability, something we're extremely proud of. I know a lot of the big money center banks cannot say that, so we're going to hold on to that one, and we're going to keep it going, right, folks? We finished the year with $639 million in total assets and an after-tax net profit of $7.2 million. We once again paid a dividend to all of our Class A shareholders. It was a consistent and reliable dividend, and that has been the 18th consecutive year that we paid that dividend. And I want to thank all of you shareholders who have taken that dividend and reinvested it with us. That's extremely important. It's at your discretion whether you do that or not, but it's always greatly, greatly appreciated. Our financial metrics today remain strong. Our equity to asset ratio is over 17%. Our classified and delinquent loans is less than 1%. We're in a strong cash position. And for some of you who may be wondering or came here thinking about this, no, we did not invest or purchase any long-term fixed-rate securities. Thank you, our ALCO committee, Jay Harrison, Taryn Inslee, and all the people who guide us in that area. We did, however, repay some of our long-term fixed-rate, low-interest debt. And what that actually did is allow us, I think it was about $12 million, it was from the CDFI bond program. And what that actually allowed us to do is actually make money. So in some ways, we sort of had the exact opposite experience than did some of our colleagues in the community banking arena. Again, tremendous job of our ALCO committee and the work that they do. Now, I'd like to talk about our future. I want to move to that. It's important to me. I think this slide is probably the big takeaway for me, and it's really what I want to make sure that I can articulate and explain appropriately to all of you. I think in order to talk about our future, we need to understand our past. And what these two charts are historic and projected net loans receivable numbers. And what it is the compound annual growth rate of our company. On the left is the actual rate since 2014, and you'll see that we grew at a percentage rate of 18%. If you look at 2021, and you'll see that there wasn't much growth that year, and you might be wondering and ask yourself, as you remember, that was an extremely interesting economic environment with very low interest rates, and we had another record that year. We had a record number of loan pay out of our portfolio. But that's okay. We knew as a CDFI that our job is to do those loans that conventional banks can't. And when our borrowers reach a place where they can get refinanced and move on, why we view that as a good thing, and we had a lot of that in 2021. But on the right side is our projected growth rate over the next 5 years. And you can see it's really at an almost exact rate. We projected it there at 19%. And we looked at that. We're targeting new lending of this year, $200 million. I know in talking to Christy and her team, we're already over 40. So we're well on our way to hitting that goal for this year. And then the years after that, we just increased it by 20 million a year. But the reason this is important to share with you is we simply don't have enough equity to continue to grow at the rate going forward that we have historically grown throughout the history of this company. And so we're sort of at a bit of a crossroads. We need to decide what we're going to do. We're either going to figure out a way to keep growing at the rate we've been doing it, or we're going to pull in our wings and slow down. So this answers really the question of why we're embarking on our next endeavor, which is our recapitalization. And it also speaks to the purpose and the intentionality of our corporate goals and our goals to grow this company into the future. So it's been long talked about, and we have probably been working on this plan, Jay and I in particular, and Kathy, for years and years and years, and we really thought we had it set to go, and then what happened was COVID. And so, but it's back again, and the reason we didn't go is we didn't feel comfortable in our numbers when COVID hit. We didn't want to go out and tell people that, this is what we're going to do if we couldn't back it up. So we're going to raise, hopefully, $50 million in new equity. I need to say at this point very clearly that, this is not a solicitation. Where's Nicole, my attorney? She's right there. Okay, Nicole, this is not a solicitation, and the plan is still being worked on. In fact, I know Ray Mendoza and I have had a number of good conversations about our plan, and there's folks here from Wells Fargo who have been very instrumental in helping us lay it out. But we're still crafting this, but we think we're getting very close to the finish line. But once again, not a solicitation. And we've decided to create a plan that we believe is in the best interest of our existing shareholders, you, the ones who have owned our company, the ones who have supported us all these years. And we think this plan will allow us to continue to grow and to continue to make more loans. So here's our plan. We're asking each of you who are equity shareholders to essentially double your current investment level. So for example, if you have $100,000 of equity in Clearinghouse CDFI, you're going to be asked to do another $100,000. If you have $1 million, you're being asked to do another $1 million in equity. But if you can do that, here's what you get. You get a new class of common stock that's closely aligned with the economic success of the company. You get to keep your existing Class A shares, and they actually will become preferred under our plan. We're projecting a potential bonus or a bump in basis of the existing level of stock, and which would also be preferred. And lastly, a potential annual dividend and something I'm very excited about, which is moving toward providing a future liquidity event for each and every one of our shareholders. Now, you might be asking, well, what happens if we're an existing shareholder and we can't double it? That's okay, it's no problem. You'll still have these preferred Class A shares, you'll still be a member, and we understand and recognize that not all of our existing shareholders will be able to double it. We also know that some of our existing shareholders have already communicated to us that they think they want to do more, and that would work out perfect. You won't be, restricted or prohibited from doing additional shares, and we would actually encourage it. But the bar you have to test or pass is at least doing what you've additionally done. If we can't raise $50 million from our existing shareholder base, it's at that time that we would open it up to outside new investors. And while we don't know what the future brings, we do feel pretty certain that we've already had communications from folks that have looked at our metrics, have looked at our growth, have looked at what this company has done and has said, we want to invest in this company. So, but once again, we want to start with our existing shareholder base, and it's also important to us that you guys buy off on this, because you have to vote on this plan. You have to tell us that you approve of it. Additionally, we're going to take a % of the common stock and we're going to create a compensation plan for all Clearinghouse CDFI employees. This goal is really important to us, and it aligns with our identity as a B Corp. It aligns and it's consistent with everything we've talked about, everything we've preached, and everything we stand for as a purposeful CDFI, and it's extremely important to me. If we can do this, it'll allow us to continue to grow and increase our lending over the next 4 years, growing our total asset base to $1.2 billion, which is quite a remarkable goal for a tiny little CDFI that started as an experiment. Dave, right? You remember those days back then? We couldn't even raise a penny, but we've come a long way, and Dave Levy's been with me the entire time. Okay, so why do we do this? Where are we going? Our African American Advisory Board today posed a question to our board of directors. I thought it was a really good one. And they basically said, hey, board, what do you guys want to look like 5, 10, 15 years down the road? And, what my belief is that we need to become the premier CDFI in the country, the community development, economic development CDFI in the country. And there'll never be a ratings like college football or college basketball, but I think we'll know that we strive for that we can get there. But we want to do it while we maintain our principles. That is, maintaining our CDFI status, maintaining our B Corp status, and continuing to make impactful loans while maintaining profitability. It's a tightrope act to have impact and profitability, and it's one of these that we continually struggle with as a company, but I think we've proven that we know what we're doing and we can do it. All of these things are extremely consistent with our purpose as a company. I believe we can achieve our goals and we can fulfill our purpose and we can accomplish what we want, but we need to be strategic, we need to be smart, and we need to be hardworking. And I really need to call upon our staff to really answer the call one more time. And it's because of our unbelievable, outstanding staff that we've been successful. I've been extremely fortunate as president of this company to have such great people. I'd like to, at this time, really quickly ask my executive team to stand. That would be Christy Ohlendorf, Kathy Bonney, Jay Harrison, Taryn Inslee, Andy Gordon, and Eve Montbelair. These leaders these are some of the most hardworking, intelligent, dedicated, committed, and just wonderful people to work with, and they have to put up with me and all my new ideas and chasing rabbits and all the things, and they do a great job of reining me in. Lastly, I'd like our other employees who are here to stand up, just our other employees. the folks that on a day in and day out basis make this happen. And let's give a round of applause to all of the Clearinghouse CDFI employees. Shareholders, I really want to say that it's because of these people that we have achieved success. It's because of their hard work, their dedication, and everything they put into this company, and we certainly couldn't do it without them. But going forward, I just want to say that from the depths of my heart, I believe in this team. I believe that we can accomplish all the goals. We're going to need everyone's support, and that is something that I definitely want to ask each and every one of you shareholders. When we are ready, when our attorneys say that it's time to give you the final plan, that you will look at that and give it all consideration so that we can continue the purpose of Clearinghouse CDFI. Thank you. It's at this place in the event that I'd like to thank all of our wonderful sponsors who have helped make this event possible. And I want to start with State Bank of India, Buckhalter, our attorney, PNC Bank, at the next level, U.S. Bank, Western Alliance, and then our Trailblazer sponsor, Bank of California. And last but not least, and most importantly, our presenting sponsor, City National Bank, an RBC company. And I know Ray is here, and like I said, he's been very helpful to me in helping to look at where we're going to take this company. And so I again want to thank you, Ray, and City National Bank for being the lead sponsor of this event here today. So thank you so much. All right, well, you've heard enough from me, so I'd like to get Jay Harrison up here, and I know he's got to recognize a few other very, very important people. So Jay, would you please come up, and we'll continue on with the program.
Hey, before you leave, though, I don't think we all expected all the love, staff and the executive team and all that, but how about a big round of applause for Doug?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
He says we put up with him. We don't have much choice, really, but we do it out of love, and so Doug, thank you for your leadership. So I get to talk about our investors today and our recent investment activity. And before I make some specific recognitions, I'd like to thank all of our investors on behalf of the staff. We are so thankful and grateful to have each and every one of you here tonight. The mission and the purpose is impossible without each of you. So give yourselves a big round of applause. I'd like to start tonight by recognizing our latest Class A shareholder, Santa Cruz County Bank. Is Maxwell Sinclair here, by any chance? I don't see Max, but anyway, last year they invested $500,000 in our Class A stock. I have to tell a little story about that. We love our equity shareholders, and I remember Maxwell called Kathy just out of the blue, saying, we're looking for a great CRA investment. And Maxwell had worked at a different institution and had invested in our equity. And so he said, hey, Kathy, by any chance, do you have any more of that Class A stock? And so Kathy, oh, sure, And so she set up a Zoom call, and Maxwell joined, had some of his other, executive officers with him. And one of those officers just came out really challenging. He said, so why would I invest $500,000 in Clearinghouse CDFI as opposed to just simply a low-income MBS or something like that? And before we could even answer, Maxwell jumped in there and gave a better speech than we could have. So I really want to do a shout out to Maxwell and let everybody know we're really glad to have Santa Cruz County Bank as our latest Class A equity investor. Why don't we give everybody a round of applause, even though they're not here tonight. I can't help myself. That leads me to another story. We did talk to another financial institution in a similar sort of set of circumstances. Why Clearinghouse CDFI versus the MBS? And this institution will remain unnamed, but unfortunately, they invested in the MBS. Now, you probably know who I'm talking about, but look what happened to them. So, Doug, you can add to the list of what does an investment in Clearinghouse CDFI do. It not only improves the lives of low-income people, but it also can help strengthen the banking industry at the same time. Moving on to debt, Doug was talking about purpose. We got a call from a group in New Mexico who saw the great lending that we were doing. And they said, we really want to encourage and thank you for that. How can we help? So they offered us a 2% fixed rate loan for a period of 5 years. And so I think we executed that agreement before the end of the week. So today we have $10 million from the New Mexico Small Business Investment Corporation, NMSBIC, with $10 million on the balance sheet, $5 million more to come. So let's give them a big round of applause. Is there anybody here from Manufacturers Bank tonight? Once again, a longtime investor of Clearinghouse CDFI. We had a debt facility for $10 million mature. They actually increased that by an additional $10 million. And so we're very grateful to them for the additional debt capital. Charles Schwab Bank, is Nay here? Once again, Charles Schwab has been a longtime supporter of Clearinghouse CDFI. They have provided us with a construction lending facility, $35 million, a significant facility. As it rolled over this past year, they realized that, with interest rates rising, that was, problematic for us. They agreed to actually significantly lower the interest rate to us in a rising rate environment. And so with partners like that, that certainly deserves a special round of applause. Now, I know our next investor is here. Wells Fargo Bank has done so many things for us over the years that it's hard to mention all at one time. So our award is called the Investor at Large Award. I see Melinda Costa. Melinda, would you stand up, please? Very special guest. She's come all the way from the East Coast to be here tonight. She put together for us a $25 million line of credit that has been, essential to our operational activities. But beyond that, Wells Fargo is a new markets tax credit investor. They're an equity investor. They serve on our boards and committees. Melinda is also on our asset review committee. We have our correspondent banking with them. PPP, you guys all remember PPP. We needed a correspondent banking relationship in order to make that happen. Wells Fargo stepped into that role. So I'd like to for our Investor at Large Award, I'd like a big round of applause for Wells Fargo Bank. And finally, there was a historic, event that occurred during 2022. We actually received our largest single credit facility in the history of the company, which $50 million, which is in and of itself, recognizable. But the fact that it came from an entirely different industry. It's been a goal of Doug's to have a significant investment from the insurance industry for many, many years. And so congratulations, Doug. It occurred in the form of a $50 million 10-year fixed rate credit facility at 3.9%. So a really nice facility. And it came from the folks at Barings LLC. Barings is a subsidiary of Mass Mutual Insurance Company. And so none of them are here, but we do have two folks here, I think, tonight, that were really instrumental in making that happen. Is Mike here? Mike Petralia?
Right there.
There he is. Mike, why don't you come on forward? How about Tom O'Neill? Is Tom here? Well, I'd like to roast Mike for a little bit because, you know, he's the founding partner of Meridian Partners. And while he, you know, I asked him how he wanted to be introduced, he modestly said, well, just leave it at that. But the reality is there's a lot more to it than that. You remember the map that Doug showed with all the different states? He mentioned that there was a group that was out helping us find loans throughout the country, particularly New York. That was Mike. He did it because he loved us. He did it for free, basically. Along with that, we needed a source of funding. Well, Mike went to work on that as well. And so he's the one that put us together with Barings LLC, once again, the largest credit facility in the history of the company. So Mike, if you'd stand up one more time, big round of applause for Mike. Well, that concludes my announcements tonight. I would at this time like to ask Susan Montoya if she would come up.
Hi, welcome everyone. I'm Susan Montoya, the internship director of our Be Bolder program, and I just wanted to share a few informational points with all of you about our program. We officially do call our program the Alan Peter Baldwin Be Bolder program. We're honored to have that designation. And it was officially launched in 2016 with a couple of high school interns from Orange County. And if you're wondering what the acronym of Be Bold stands for, building bridges, outreach, leadership, and development. And we target this program toward LMI, low-income interns for our program. In 2022, we marked the launch of expanding our program to include LMI college students. And we added the engagement and recruitment to our Be Bold title, so now we're Be Bolder. Investing in tomorrow's leaders, Be Bolder focuses on emerging leaders and workforce development. We expanded the internship in 2023 by adding 2 cohorts, a spring cohort, which is currently underway right now, and a summer cohort that will begin middle of June. Both of these programs are paid internships for our students. They also have a hybrid environment. They are on site right now, our college students with partnering banks that believe in our program. And they also have online workshops that they complete through Zoom, where we have a variety of subject matter experts that lead us in topics, for example, community development, understanding CRA, affordable housing, what a CDFI is and what a CDFI does, what's a B Corp, affordable housing, investing, and some financial literacy we throw in there as well. All of our interns are also engaged in volunteer activities, so they're having an opportunity to work and learn more about the nonprofit world and giving back to the communities that are here to serve them. And then our interns, before their final graduation, will be presenting oral presentations to our senior management staff at Clearinghouse, again giving them some experience in what it's like to lead and speak before an audience. All of our interns, besides their hourly stipend that they're receiving, we're also proud to recognize that they will receive an Alan Orqua Memorial Scholarship in the amount of $2,500. And our Be Bolder internship program would not be possible without the generous support of many of our donors, and I wanted to thank each of them for stepping up as a founding sponsor. I think there might be a slide out there, but I also want to just recognize them by name. Citizens Business Bank, who was our first bank to step up and believe in the program and support us financially. Thank you, Jess. Bank of California, thank you, Chris. Pacific Western Bank and Pacific Premier Bank, City National Bank, First Bank, Western Alliance Bank, Manufacturers Bank, and First General Bank. So thank you to all of you for believing in the program, for stepping up with a financial contribution, and for serving in many other capacities to make sure that our internship continues to grow and thrive, and in Doug's words, wants to see this as a national program eventually. So that is our goal. And on behalf of all of us at Clearinghouse and our interns, thank you to all of you that have supported us, and for all of you in the room that will be supporting us. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for attending. I'm Taryn Ensley. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for Clearinghouse CDFI. And I have the honor of recognizing our board of directors. And I think their names are up on the slide right there. Board members, would you please stand? Thank you. And to the board, thank you for your service. We depend on you tremendously for your guidance and your leadership. Thank you. I also want to do a special thanks to Gregory Scott. Greg, I'm not sure you're here this evening. He is stepping out of his role on the board of directors. We did want to do a special shout out to him and thank him specifically for his leadership. I also want to recognize the loan committee, and I think someone said earlier the loan committee is integral to the success of our loans. They look and review, I think, almost every loan we do with very few exceptions. Would like to ask that fine committee to stand up. Members who are here, if you could stand up, and you deserve a great applause. Thank you. And again, thank you, Loan Committee, for your leadership and for all of the hours that you put into that work. It's extremely important to Clearinghouse. I would also like to recognize our Asset Liability Management, or ALCO Committee. Would the ALCO Committee members that are here, would you please stand up? Thank you. The ALCO Committee plays a crucial role in guiding us in asset liability management, in liquidity, in a lot of very critical issues for a financial institution, and our great thanks for your leadership. And at that, I am going to pass the podium on to Kathy. Reminded me of something. Excuse me, everybody, my bad. Asset Review Committee, excuse me. We have one other extremely critical committee, Asset Review, or we call them ARC. And if the members of Asset Review Committee would stand, please. And then, thank you. And my apologies for overlooking you. You are not to be overlooked. Your role is extremely critical to the company. And again, thank you for your time and the work that you put into that Asset Review Committee. Thank you. Okay. Thanks, Kathy.
Somebody forgot my step stool. You gonna come lift me up? Is that what you said? Oh, okay, okay. Hi, everyone. Kathy Bonney. I think I know most everybody in here, so welcome. Glad to see you all in person. It's been a few years. I want to recognize our community, or our New Markets Tax Credit Advisory Board. If you would all please stand if you are here. and I know a lot of them were on Zoom today. They may not be here. This is, yep, Alan, are you standing? You don't get out of standing. This is a very important committee, especially for Jay and I, as they look at all of the deals that we do, that we put New Markets allocation into. They also bring deals to us. There are eyes and ears out in the communities. We vet those projects, but most importantly, they keep us honest in doing projects that are truly impactful. So we go to them with our recommendations, and they tell us yay or nay and give us their support. So they are very critical to us. Thank you, Alan, and the rest of the committee. Next, I would like to, you just heard a little about the Be Bolder Advisory Committee and the Outreach Committees. They kind of go hand in hand. Susan helps me with both of those. The Outreach Committee, if anyone is here and would stand, please. They are a group of bankers, and I say that with tremendous respect. They're not just your 9-to-5 guys. They are out talking to their peers in the CRA world and letting Jay and I know what's changing in the CRA world. What are investors looking for these days? In my 19 years here, that has changed over time. So they are a very important committee to us, as they also talk to potential investors and educate them about what a great CRA investment we are. Thank you to all of you for your service. And the last committee that I want to have stand up and recognize is the Be Bolder Advisory Board Committee, if any of you are here. This committee was formed by Susan, and Kelly participates on that as well. And they help us look at everything in our Be Bold internship program, from sponsors to courses we may want to implement, to strategizing on how to meet Doug's goal of taking this program nationwide, but also having it support itself. So this is a program you should watch in the future. We have big plans for it, and I want to thank the entire committee for being there for us. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Andy Gordon. I'm an executive advisor and Arizona Market president. Great to see all these familiar faces and some faces I've only met through Zoom. It's great to see you in person. Just wanted to mention about a few committees we have. We have the Native American Advisory Board, and it provides us they're a source of distinctive knowledge and expertise to us regarding current and prospective business community and economic conditions in Indian country. I'd ask all of them to stand up. I think we have one member here, Sean. Want to say hi up there? Sean's a Navajo fine artist. Drove in from Gallup, whether rain, sleet, or snow. You made it here. Thank you so much. We had several members on the Zoom meeting, on our joint meeting today. It was a really terrific representation. Also wanted to acknowledge the Arizona Board of Advisors and Investment Committee. It's now a joint committee. And similarly, they provide a source of distinctive knowledge and expertise to us regarding current and prospective business, community, and economic conditions in Arizona in particular. That committee also overlooks our investment in Arizona Multi-Bank Legacy Fund held at the Arizona Community Foundation. Arizona Community Foundation was the first nonprofit investor in Clearinghouse CDFI as $1 million investor, and Lisa Danksock is on the board. It's great to have her here. I think Bob McCausland, who opened the meeting and held the business part of the, are you still here, Bob? Oh, great. He had a flight. Okay. Well, I did want to acknowledge Bob. I was asked to do it because Bob and I go back over 3 decades. He's our vice chair of our board now, and he'll be moving off the board. He was the first chairman of the investment committee in Arizona when he was at Citibank, and we've taken a lot of different roads and curves, but I got to tell you, he's been dedicated to our mission for those 3 decades, and we really wanted to acknowledge him for all of his hard work. And I see a lot of people in the audience who really commit a lifetime to our purpose. Thank you, Doug. We're going to be giving Bob a little gift, really to kind of note him being a compass for direction and continually providing direction on having impact in our communities. I'd like to turn over the podium to Yves Montbeleur.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yves Montbeleur, Chief Operations Officer. I want to take this opportunity to talk about 2 critical boards that we recently formed. As some of you know, we are on our eastward expansion, and it was really critical that we get other folks outside of our 4 or 5 states to support our efforts. So we formed the Latinx Advisory Board, and we also formed the African American Advisory Board. What these 2 formations did, it helped us make sure that as we go and provide loans in other geographies, that we were able to still be in compliance with our mandate that at least 60% of all of our loans are within our home-based area. I can gladly report that as of last year, 100% of our loans for the very first time were within our assessment area, so I want to thank the advisory board for that. And I'm going to make the transition now to Fulcrum. I love this, the purpose thing. I believe that you should always have purpose, but purpose should always be followed by really intention. I was having a conversation a few weeks back with my children. Some of you may know I have 2 children, one I really, really like. I always have one that supports me all the time, but ironically, both of them kind of gathered up on me, and they had an interesting question. The question was, well, Dad, we understand why you married Mom, but why did she marry you? And I'm thinking, I did travel a lot, but, my response was, 'cause I've always been someone that always was intentional in everything that I did. That when I met her, I knew this was the person, so I was intentional in going after her. And I bring this in because this is what Doug, through his leadership, has done through us at Clearinghouse. When the opportunity arose for us to do something that's really never been done before, a community development financial institution partnering with a private equity fund to address the racial wealth gap that exists in America, many thought it couldn't be done, but here we are, we've done it. So we partnered, and I'll introduce one of our GPs later, but we made the partnership because we realized, and I think Doug has said it many times, this was one of the most important things that he's done as the leader of Clearinghouse, to bring this together. So in a nutshell, here's what we are. We are a $250 million private equity fund that's designed to address the racial wealth gap by investing in middle market businesses. Those middle market businesses are either ran by people of color, or we buy them and we put people of color in the leadership position, thereby providing access to the C-suite. Thus far, I can proudly say that we have raised $224 million out of the $250 million goal. And we're still moving along. We have until the end of June, we'll do our final close, but that's wonderful. When I first started doing this, talking to some of our bank partners, I had a lot of you doing what? We can't do this. But as Clearinghouse has done in its rich history, continues to prove that if anyone ever says it can't be done or it shouldn't be done, we have a way of going out and being purposeful and being intentional. And so this is what we're doing right now, and we're very thankful. Out of our 9 bank partners thus far, I can say 8 of them have already invested into Clearinghouse, also invested into Fulcrum, raising nearly $50 million, and we expect more. All the bankers in the room, it's not solicitation, Nicole, but if you want to have a discussion about where to put your money, then we can have that discussion. Am I good? Okay. So, in that, I just really want to say I want to be thankful to all of the team at Clearinghouse. This was so innovative, so new. And I'm going to borrow the words from one of our regulatory bodies when we submitted this Fulcrum Fund for review. They said that we were category former. This is where they want those who want to be innovative, complex to be. So I am very glad to be in this stage. So with that, I want to take the next few minutes to introduce Mr. Ben Carson Jr. Ben is one of our general partners, and he and Doug were the original, two people that started thinking how to really address this racial wealth gap in a meaningful and impactful way. So Ben, if you please come up, and Ben is going to say a few words about Fulcrum Fund. Thank you.
So thank you so much for the kind introduction, Eve. Anyone who knows me knows that I am not typically short on words, but I've been given 5 minutes, so do my best to stick to it. And first and foremost, I can't thank Clearinghouse enough. The ability to create this type of innovative, complex product offering, bring this to the banking market, also have traditional LPs investing, and doing something that's entirely new and entirely different, this has been an absolute dream come true. So I do want to say thank you to Doug Bistry. Thank you so much for your incredible vision and leadership as we look to put this together now, what was that, 3 years ago when we first started this journey. The journey was so interesting in the beginning, actually, that after talking to Doug, he said, I know the perfect guy to get involved here and really take this to the next level. And Eve, you have been like the best thing that ever happened to us. It was absolutely incredible. Eve is the first one to say that after being at JP Morgan and everywhere else, he heard about Fulcrum and he forgot to negotiate his salary. He just came right over. So Eve, thank you so much for your incredible vision and leadership with everything that we're doing. I have a couple more thank yous. I'll get them out of the way quickly. Kathy Bonney, she may be small, but she is mighty, and she has gotten us 100% in gear. Thank you so much, Kathy. Incredible leadership. And then I would be remiss to miss out on my favorite Santa Claus among us. Where are you, Andy? Andy, there he is. Andy Gordon, AKA Santa Claus, my man. Thank you so much for everything that you have done for us. So I'll tell you a little bit about Fulcrum, just because I think it is something that is very different. We have decided to take a big leap. Once again, I'm sorry, Nicole, no solicitation, I know. We decided to take a big leap and try to align impact and alpha in a way that hadn't really been done before. Many of you are probably familiar with private equity as a category. We're viewed as the evil empire, the folks in the high tower, et cetera, et cetera. Nothing good typically comes from a private equity firm getting involved in most things in this country, except for returns for people who already had money. That is tragedy. That is a lot of money that is invested every year into a lot of companies that could be doing a lot of good for the world, and instead it's always focused on profit only. We had the idea to start looking at profit, but also impact at scale. That's where the alignment of a CDFI and private equity can really start to make a change. And many of you are familiar with debt going into underserved communities. Debt is a great tool, liquidity matters, but what about that longer-term patient capital that can be employed at scale to create sustainable ecosystems of opportunity over a 10-year period? And that's what we decided to bring to market with Fulcrum. Eve was also the one who told us, you guys have already been doing this for the past 10 years. So we started our firm back in 2013 with this idea that diversity was not a risk as much of the capital markets views it as. It's actually just a misunderstood category, an emerging market, an inefficient market. And we said if we can add a little bit of capital, a little bit of sophistication, a little bit of access, maybe we could actually create a sustainable portfolio. Fast forward 10 years to this conversation I was having with Doug and launching this fund. We had generated out of 10 investments, 10 platform companies, 38 total transactions. We'd created over 7,000 permanent jobs, so not hires, but permanent jobs, so many more times of that as people hired. We had returned over 25x MOIC, so top 1% private equity strategy. We had returned over 100 million to underserved communities in terms of creating new net worth, et cetera, et cetera. So Eve looked at it and he said, you guys are already doing the work of a public welfare entity. You guys need to now have a status and allow banks, allow other groups to start participating. So fast forward to today, as Eve said, 224 million currently committed to the 250 target. I just received word this morning that another 30 million is coming in from a couple investors that have been all through our data room and everything else. But we're on a mission to change the way that private equity and underserved communities can actually participate, and it's thanks to the purpose of Clearinghouse that we were ever able to achieve this type of certification. We are CRA eligible, Volcker exempt, public welfare private equity. That's an oxymoron. It does not make any sense at all. And it has somehow been achieved here today due to the purpose and intentionality of Clearinghouse. So thank you guys again so much for the support, for everything that you guys do for us, everything you're doing with us. Clearinghouse is also an investor in Fulcrum. So thank you also for that vision and leadership. We're looking forward to much more, many more successes, and this partnership doing something to truly change the trajectory of this country. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ben. We just get so excited whenever we talk about this. At this time, I would like to introduce the 2022 video.
Hi, I'm Doug Bistry, President and CEO of Clearinghouse CDFI. For over 25 years, we've served low and moderate income communities with purpose. Our mission is and has always been to finance projects that create economic opportunity and improve lives. We've funded over 2,600 projects for a total of $2.2 billion. We've created 40,000 jobs benefiting 3.9 million people. Through the hard work, dedication, and support of our shareholders and stakeholders, we continue to make a difference. As you know, we recently celebrated our 25-year anniversary. On the heels of that milestone, our executive team had a chance to get together in person and plan for our future. It was a rare occasion for all of us to be together in the same space since the start of COVID. What a wonderful time we had aligning our goals and objectives for the future. But more importantly, we had a chance to reminisce about some of the most important and impactful loans in our corporate history. Today, we're happy to share those stories with you, including a very special project we funded in 2022. What are some of the favorite projects that we've done over the years? I mean, there's so many, and but I'd love to just
The aquarium.
hear anyone. Which one?
The aquarium.
I think from the day you called me
I
to
called
the
you.
day we funded, that was literally like
Two to three
and
weeks.
something weeks.
Yeah,
Yep.
Done.
that was amazing.
They had money in their account.
That
Like
was
we've
right
never
there.
moved, we've never moved that
No,
fast.
we've never moved that fast. It was an emergency loan,
Yeah.
and we knew that because of COVID, because their income
Yeah.
dried up, they did not have enough money
No.
to continue feeding and serving
Yeah.
the animals in their
Yeah.
aquarium. So it was
Yeah.
one of those where I felt like we just had to sort of throw out the conventional rules.
Maybe I'll start with another one, but I'm thinking of Arizona. We did a kind of a transitional housing facility for autistic, children in Phoenix.
Phoenix, yeah.
First place.
Nice.
First place. Do you
That's a great one, great
do
project.
you have any thoughts on the impact that's had in Phoenix?
Well, the principles of it, it's a nonprofit,
have an autistic child. And as anyone gets older and you have an autistic child, who's going to take care of my child as I get older?
Right.
So we need to build some more of a community around that. This turns out to be a living situation where people can go to work. I mean, these are highly functional autistic young adults, so it's a great program, but they also have a research center there. And so they're making an impact on the world that way.
Yeah.
We have some interesting ones in Arizona for sure. I think, about the hardware store in Holbrook, Arizona, for example.
Hardware. I remember Walt's Hardware.
So there's a closed theater, a movie theater in rural Arizona, Holbrook. We financed the theater there that was closed, and that owner who sold the theater subsequently then wanted to do the hardware store.
Yeah.
And she and her husband and their team did a great job there, which is really important in rural Arizona to have that type of stuff available.
Yeah. What about Teen Project? I mean, that's another.
She is a borrower that in her young life, she literally was in prostitution. And she somehow got herself out of it, got an education, and dedicated her entire life to helping teenage girls get out of that life through emancipated youth and give them a home, give them college education, a place to live, one by one. So
Talk about really making an impact and changing lives and taking a trajectory of someone whose life is on a certain
Absolutely,
path
yeah.
and moving it to another. And because we were able to allow them to buy the old
The Boy Scouts.
Boy
Yeah,
Scout facility.
But even before we did that,
We did
it was
their first house.
their first house.
Right, and then we allowed
that
them to
they
buy
did.
that whole
That's right,
compound
yep.
where they could
Yep.
take however many more.
They churned through them to get them jobs or an education to then kind of move through. So,
And break that cycle.
and break that
yeah.
cycle of dependency on whatever that's not healthy for them.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
One other thing I think that is important, and I wanted to talk about a first that was extremely important to us and really, I think, put us on a great trajectory, and that is our S&P rating.
That was an interesting process, and it's benefited. We talked about raising debt.
Yeah.
Now we can show that to folks who are less familiar with us, maybe.
Right.
And maybe we have to do a little less explaining about ourselves.
Eve, we just finished our first Opportunity Zone project, start to finish. Talk about what that has meant for you and what that means for the company.
Loss of hair. Most definitely. But it's been great because, for years we've provided the capital for others to go do projects like we just did. And once again, to be the very first one to complete an Opportunity Zone project from ground up to where it stands now. We have 3 other projects that's ongoing that we're still working on, and it's a great opportunity for us to lead the pack, and hopefully others will follow and they'll get more involved in the OZ world.
Good, good. Andy, I know one of the things that I was excited to talk to you about when we were first starting to talk about for the merger was the fact that even though we were a for-profit, we were a B corporation. A B corporation, a benefit corporation. What did that mean to you then, and what does it mean to you now, and how significant is our B Corp status to you?
Well, as Jay was talking about the S&P Standard & Poor rating, I think twinning that with a B corporation status really puts us in a unique situation to our investors. We reinvest our profitability into our mission. We've been profitable, as you mentioned, for over 20 years. We do well while we do good.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, and we will continue to do that.
One of our next big challenges ahead of us is the recapitalization effort, and obviously working with a rising interest rate environment and trying to grow the loan portfolio in the company and trying to make all of these things happen together. But I think for me, probably the most important thing about the recapitalization is the plan to give all of our employees an ownership interest in this company.
This should go a way to clear the path forward from a capital perspective.
agree.
And it should really help operations. It will take us from our existing roughly 600 million in total assets to 1.5 billion in a period of 5 years. And so it's really exciting to be able to put that kind of money to work in low-income communities throughout the country.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm glad you said throughout the country, because one of the other important aspects of what we're doing is expanding geographically. And Kathy, I want to ask you about, how you see us rolling that out.
It's going to have to be strategic. It's going to be hiring staff, getting staff into other areas of the country. We don't currently have them.
Yeah.
Getting people that know the regions, so we have boots on the
That's
ground
right.
to really know those areas. And I think that's
regional
going to be,
expertise,
yeah, that regional expertise is really going to help us to be able to get loans, and it's hard, especially, tribal areas. It's very hard to earn trust. Right? So it's educating that we're a CDFI, what we do, we're here for good.
One of the things I'm most proud of this team, and I know it wasn't easy, but when COVID hit and the PPP program became available, and I said, we need to go do PPP loans, I know that caused a lot of challenge for our teams.
Just a little.
Yeah, just a little. I'm going to scoot over here next to you, Eve,
Yeah, it's a challenge.
Yeah.
But we responded to it.
We did.
And I know when I look now at the map of where we have made loans, and you see all of the small businesses that we helped with the PPP loan, when many of them couldn't get through to their big bank. And like the dentist in Oakland, that's another one of my favorite borrowers. He was talking about, what that meant for his business. Yeah. Christy, there's a special project that we just recently funded in Tustin. Do you want to talk about that?
That's Port View Prep. They serve the developmentally disabled children throughout California.
Port View Preparatory is a school for individuals on the autism spectrum or individuals with other related developmental disabilities. We educate students anywhere from kindergarten all the way through adult transition, which is 22 years old. And our students really have profound and significant needs, whether that's learning needs or behavioral needs.
Dr. Tomeno and I worked in other settings with individuals with disabilities, and a missing component of those programs or the curriculum was really trying to capture the dreams of the kids and try to create pathways for them to succeed in life and contribute to their communities.
I just saw a need in special education that I felt was lacking. I was doing in-home work, so sometimes I would go see a student in their school setting when I typically would work with them in the home. And every time I would go, the special ed classes were in the bungalows, in the back of the campus, far away from everybody else, and I really wanted to elevate the standard of special education. That was really important to me.
Because we're a non-public school, we operate under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, which mandates that every student receive an IEP or individualized education plan.
So when they first start with us, it's really just developing a relationship with them to figure out what makes them tick. And we just focus on getting to know that individual student, and then we work to develop their program and develop their goals. We're really trying to set them up to be successful in life, but more importantly, to be happy and to do the things that they like to do.
We leased this building back in 2019. Built into the lease was a purchase option. Part of our goals for longevity was to be able to exercise that purchase option. I worked for a couple of years on trying to figure out how we were going to buy this building. I would talk to guys that were supposedly the best in fundraising in the business, and nobody could figure it out. Well, enter the former CEO of Reimagine, Glenn Motola. He ranted and raved about Clearinghouse. He sent an introductory email to Christy Ollendorf. Christy was the first person I spoke to that actually understood what it is that we did in 5 minutes. She said, "I think we can help you." The rest is history. We were able to pull it off thanks to Clearinghouse.
It was so amazing because the values and mission of Clearinghouse really aligned with those of Port View. And there were so many commonalities between the two organizations that it really was just this like magical connection that allowed us to create this amazing campus. My favorite part of the campus is either the adult transition apartment with the Murphy bed or the library. Having a library was really important to me. I wanted our students to have access to all sorts of different books and curriculum. And so I was really happy when we had a space that we were able to build a library.
We are now competent and being able to house up to 120 students here, which creates at least 100 more jobs just for this site alone. But it also sets the precedent for the future for us. We are sustainable. We're not trying to ask for handouts. We pay our bills. Our kids contribute to society. Just with a little bit of understanding of what we do, we can go a long way.
Mikey has been at Port View since he was 9. He's 17. Interestingly enough, with Mikey, he doesn't like to use his assistive device at home, but he'll use it here at school. And what I've noticed is at home, because of Port View, Mikey speaks when he needs something at home or he wants to get my attention. He actually uses his language. Mikey has speech and he has occupational therapy and he has fun with everything that they do. He has so much available to him that he didn't have before. My child is happy. He's amazing now because of Port View.
What I hope to give my students is a safe place where they know they're loved. When I think about them graduating and moving out into the world, I really just want to teach them self-advocacy and to be able to continue the work that we did here, whether that's having a job or living with their parents or living independently, finding something that really truly makes them happy. That's really important to me.
I would recommend it to them because everybody is friendly and you can learn a lot. They have really good teachers and you can make friends there.
So before we wrap up, I want to just ask everyone if they have a thought or a vision or a goal of where they see the company in 3 to 5 years from now.
I hope we can continue to have and develop the same super staff.
Yeah.
We have amazing staff members, and as we grow, we're going to need to grow. And to find them. Yeah. And we've just been so fortunate with the people we have that have stuck with us. They're just wonderful. I hope we find more of those people. I think we will. Good thing about COVID, though, and the remote work is it makes it easier.
Yes.
I think prior to that, we thought, oh, we've got to have offices, bricks and mortar all over the place.
Yeah.
We don't need that anymore.
Aren't we seeing that a lot of the younger people now want to go to work for a company that's making a difference in the world that isn't just all about the bottom line?
Overseeing the HR realm, I don't just see that in the younger people that apply. I see it in people that we actually work with now, right? So we have people that maybe work at a bank. If something opens, they might be interested in that position. We've had a few people come to us that way.
Well, we have a couple of ex-bankers right here with us, so
And we've attracted some great talent that way, but also, like you said, COVID, we're getting top talent because we can now search nationwide for the talent that we're seeking.
Yeah, I agree.
That is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is solely off of our reputation that we get as much loan volume as we do in California. I would love to see that trajectory and that kind of confidence throughout
something to
our
shoot for.
Yeah, our other focused areas in the United States.
That's actually a really great goal.
Yeah.
And I feel like to some extent we're starting that in states like Texas, where Eve is and Annie. I feel like we're starting to build that.
Get that kind of institutional reputation in those areas.
Right.
Whatever it is that we do, we have to be able to share the story with others. I drank the Kool-Aid. I want others to drink the Kool-Aid. I think there could be a four-prong that love to see the insurance companies be for investors, the family offices, the large companies, and the financial institutions. Here's a viable investment source, and here's what we've done historically. Here's the data to support it. That's what I like to see happening, because I think that would amplify what we've done, but also give us a lot of additional outside and external monetary sources.
Seeing the company grow and be able to continue to be viable both from a profitability standpoint, but also from a strong impact, and continuing as both a CDFI and a B Corp is really, really important to me. And if we're so fortunate as to be able to do a recapitalization, grow the company, and have some sort of other exit event or an IPO, that would be a dream come true for me. That would be the cherry on the top of my ice cream sundae career that I've had. You know, often as the president and CEO, I'm out in front of everyone and I get a lot of accolades, but it's all the hard work of each and every one of you. And I am very grateful and indebted to each and every one of you and our entire teams, all of our staff, all of the people that work so hard at Clearinghouse CDFI, and it's been a great run. Let's all put our hand in here together. 1, 2, 3, CDFI!
Yeah, baby.
Say something, I will let Gary come and say something. Come on up.
Before Gary comes up, I just want to remind him he's in between this and the bar. Yeah, okay.
You know, first off, I want to thank Bob for stepping into me today, to taking over some of my duties as chairman of the board. I'm dealing with some major medical issues, and I really appreciate the team stepping in for me. But sitting here listening to what's been said tonight, there was one thing that was missed. I couldn't let it go. We're all here representing banks, companies, nonprofits, and we're here because it's our job, it's our career. But I've learned over my 40-year career in banking and devoted to community reinvestment that you really wouldn't be doing that in your organization and be successful like you are unless you personally believe in the mission. Forget your job. You personally believe in giving back to the communities that we live in. And I want to make sure that we recognize every one of you on a personal level, not a career level, a personal level for choosing this as your career. Because you all do an amazing job. It helps all the nonprofits that are involved in this goal, helps the CDFI to be successful. So I want you to leave here tonight not being proud of being here because of what company you represent. I want you to think about what you personally represent and believe in your own personal life. And that's what I thought was missed. Thank you.
Oh, that was great. Thank you, Gary. So before I go any further, this amazing setup was done by Natasha, and I'm not sure, there she is in the back. Just come up here for a minute. Alana, who is back here with sound, she has to say a quick hello. Katie, right here, and not here tonight is Allie, but they have done an amazing job with this production, and it is a production every year. It's like putting on a wedding every year. So those of you that have done it. And we are about to lose Natasha. She is hiking the Pacific Trail from the border to the border, leaving next week, 2 weeks. So anyway, we wish her well. But I also wanted to take this opportunity. I want to bring Eddie and Melora up to the stage. And I also just wanted to acknowledge a lot of the staff is here tonight from Port View, and they have dressed up and they look amazing, and thank you for your support tonight. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So I'm bringing these two up because from their vision in 2014, so that was literally 9 years ago, when they opened the Yorba Linda facility, and to purchasing this building in 2022, it's been obviously a very long ride. But their next vision is up above here. There's a whole second floor, and it is wasted right now. And so in talking to Eddie, he's, when we first did this loan, it's like, well, just make this step. And then the next time I talked to him, it was about something else. And now his next vision is to develop it into a sports facility for the kids, because these kids don't get the opportunity to join a baseball team normally, or a soccer team, or
whatever they do. So it gives them the opportunity to go upstairs in a supervised manner, and they can participate in sports like all the rest of our other kids get to do. So super excited about that. We are providing a little bit of seed money to do that. So Doug, are you up here with me? We'd like to present $15,000 is just basically seed money.
We're going to get a photo of, where's our photographer? Oh, there's our photographer. Look out there.
Yeah, so it's just seed money to get them started. Of course, we want to be part of the loan to do that, and I'm looking for a banker who's willing to kind of help me do it. So anybody who's interested, come on up and let me know. Thank you very much for all you do. Thank you. Yes. Okay, so that concludes the meeting, and please join us out in the reception and enjoy. Thank you.